everyone, my name is Kalthoff and welcome to a Stamping to Share video. Today I'm going to help you find your inspiration in the new catalog, and we are going to find our inspiration with a product suite that is called Playful Palette. You can find it on page 118 and 119, and it's just a beautiful display of product here at the top and all these different samples. And what it includes is the Painter's Palette stamp set down here. And then of course some washi tape and some paper, the 6x6 paper pack. So let me show you some of those items and we'll get started on the card. The card we're going to make actually looks like this. And you can see that I used the 6x6 paper pack and just cut it into strips. And then I have a little piece just down here on the envelope just to tie that theme into what's going to be inside the envelope. And then also tied the theme to the inside panel of the card. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the Playful Palette 6x6 Designer Series paper pack. This is a little wild looking at first, but you can make some really awesome cards with it. Let me just flip through this for you. You can see that we have a lot of brush work that goes on in this 6x6 Designer Series paper pack, and it's really fun. The one side, like I said, has a lot of brush work. The other side, the brush work is a little bit more subtle, and you can see that you don't have quite as wild looking of papers. So a little bit of a calmer side and then a little bit of a wilder streak. So I love this pack and I wanted to be able to use the papers most effectively. So the way I cut this was so that I could create 2 cards with each sheet of paper. So what I did is first I cut my paper. This is a 6x6 paper, and I cut it down to 4 inches by 6 inches. And then I went ahead and just cut 1-inch strips so that I had 6 strips going across the top. And then I took the 2-inch panel that's left over and cut that into 2-inch squares, and then I cut each square diagonally. So you will see that our card, if you look at the card, it uses 3 strips. So that would be the first 3 strips. Your second card will use the second 3 strips. And then on the inside panel, I'm using the 2 diagonal pieces. And then I will use the 2 diagonal pieces on another card on the inside panel. And then I took the leftover 2x2 inch piece and I'm using that on the 2 envelopes that I would make for these cards. So let's go ahead and get started and I'll show you how to create this card. So the first thing we're going to need is a piece of basic black cardstock. This is going to be the base of our card. So this is 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and then I've scored it at 5 1/2. And I'm just going to take my bone folder, going to fold towards the mountain, and then we're just going to give this a press so that it will lie flat for us while we work with it. The next panel is going to be the outside panel. This is where we're going to be gluing our strips on. This is Emerald Envy. It's one of our new in colors, and this is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. So we can go ahead and immediately start gluing down some of those paper panels. So as I showed you, I have 3 strips cut. These are all 3 1 inch by 4 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and start laying those down onto my panel. And I'm going to use multi-purpose liquid glue just because it is a little bit of wiggle room for me so that I can just kind of scoot it around if I need to and get that right in there where I need it. So there's our first panel down. Then I'm lining these up so that you can see that the pattern continues. So then the next strip will go right next to it, but I'm going to leave a little bit of a space. That I just like that look. I've done quite a few cards since I started stamping that has that look. I just love that, where you break up the pattern with just a little bit of space between the patterns. So we'll continue on. And now we have the front part of our card is getting close to completed. So now what we want to do is we want to work on getting our sentiment. We're going to be putting that right here. So we're going to have to use the Big Shot machine, and we're also going to use some brand new tools for the Big Shot. These are called layering squares, and it's a wonderful, wonderful product set because it comes with 9 straight edges and 10 scallop edge squares. So that's basically 19 different cutouts that you get with one Layering Squares framelit set. That's a really good value for your money. And so what I did is I went ahead and I layered these from smallest to largest, and we have to skip back and forth. So this would be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. So if you just line them all up at one time in the beginning and go ahead and mark your edges, for example, 1, and then this is 3. If you do that in the beginning, then it's easy to follow along with my videos because I always mark from smallest to largest. So on the straight edge squares, we're going to be using the 5th largest square. And on our scallop edge squares, we're going to be using the 7th largest square. And then I'm going to show you how I have that set up on the Big Shot. So this is already run through the Big Shot, but I wanted to show it to you. So what I did is I used my magnetic platform, then I have my cut plate down, and then just a scrap of Very Vanilla and a scrap of Basic Black. So the Basic Black has the scallop edge, and then the Very Vanilla has the straight edge. And you can see how gorgeously that this layers in. I love it. So let's go ahead and do our stamping. I'm using the stamp set called Painter's Palette. So I went ahead and we're going to use Your Idea to Have a Birthday with Simply a Stroke of Genius, and then we're also going to use the thumbtack. I absolutely love the thumbtack. I've never seen that in a stamp set before, and it's so cute to use this thumbtack to just kind of like pin up your sentiment. So I could see using that with a lot of different stamp sets as well. So I'm going to start by using my Emerald Envy ink pad, and I'm going to ink up my sentiment. And then I'm just going to stamp that right here on the square. Then I'm going to take the thumbtack and I'm going to use that with Real Red because we want a nice pop for that thumbtack. And then we're just going to stamp that right there. So we've just got a thumbtack look right onto our sentiment. Now all we have to do is layer this onto our black scalloped panel, which I'm going to do with dimensionals. And as you can see, I use 4 dimensionals, and we're going to put this now right onto our black scallop square. To make sure that I have my edges even, I'm just going to put a piece of Very Vanilla here in the picture, and then I can see exactly where I'm going with my sentiment. So we have that ready, so now let's start assembling our card here. So we're going to take our front panel, and then I'm just going to use a little multi-purpose liquid glue, and we're just going to glue this down at an angle. And then we're going to accentuate the front with some ribbon. So I have some gold metallic ribbon. This is our 1/8 inch gold metallic ribbon. I'm just going to cut a little bit, just a little bit longer than what the card is. And then I'm going to use some Scotch tape and tape that around. And now I have it all taped. I just taped it in the back with a little Scotch tape. And this is the front part of the panel. And we are going to now take a little bow that I've created with the same ribbon. This is our 1/8 inch gold metallic ribbon. And then we're just going to put that on with a glue dot. So I'm just squishing that bow right onto the glue dot. And then I'm going to set this right here. And it's very cute right there in the corner, coming down right where that stripe of green comes through. Then we're going to go ahead and we're just going to glue this directly onto the front of our card. We'll set that in like so. Make sure all of our edges are even. And the front of our card is complete. Now let's do the inside panel of the card. So for the inside panel, which is going to go very quickly, we need a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Very Vanilla paper. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of our fast fuse, and we're just going to run a strip along the top, and then I'm going to set this in here so that all 4 borders are nice and even. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to take one of those 2-inch leftover pieces that we've cut into a diagonal, and we're going to set these in here in the upper right and in the upper left corner. And I'm just gluing those in so that I have a little bit of wiggle room. And set this one right here. And our card is done. But now I'm going to decorate the envelope, because remember, if we're making 2 cards, we're going to have 1 diagonal piece left. So that's kind of fun to put on the front of our envelope. So here's our envelope. Now you could glue this, but I'm afraid that with gluing there'd still be some loose edges, and when you go through the mail you want to make sure that you don't have anything loose, because that's just going to catch in machinery and make a mess. So what you want to do is grab your craft mat. This is our silicone craft sheet from Stampin' Up. I'm going to use fast views, and let me show you how I want to do this. Do not start at the edge, because if you start at the edge, it's going to roll right up into your fast views. You don't even need to ask me how I know. What you want to do is start right in the middle, and you are going to bring it to the edge. And the reason we're using the silicone sheet is because we want to make sure that we don't end up with adhesive all over the place. So I'm just covering this entire piece of Designer Series paper with our fast views. And there it is. It's completely covered in fast views. You know this is not going to come up in the mail. And then we're just going to set it down here in the lower left-hand corner and give it a good press. Now I was pretty lucky. I didn't really have any fast views leak out. But if you do have any fast views that leaks out to the edges, just take a adhesive remover from Stampin' Up and grab that stray bit of adhesive, and you are ready to go. This is on here so securely that no matter what kind of trip it takes through the mail, it is not going to come up. And so here it is. Here's the card I've just completed. Here is the card I had done in advance. And they are simply lovely. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I should show you one more time how you cut that Designer Series paper to make 2 cards. So you're just going to cut it into a 4 by 6 inch strip, and then take those and cut all those strips 1 by 4 inches. Then at the bottom you're going to have a 2 by 6 inch strip, and you're just going to cut that into 2-inch squares. Then take your squares and cut them diagonally, and you will have enough to do 2 cards plus 2 matching envelopes. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Have a great day. Thank you for stopping by. If you need to place an order for Stampin' Up products, be sure to visit my blog at www.stampingtoshare.com. I truly appreciate you. Bye-bye.